She woke up to the sound of birds outside her window, but even the chirping could not chase away the heaviness in her chest. The room was small and simple, with peeling paint on the walls and a thin blanket on the bed. She looked around and tried to smile, telling herself that one day things would be different. Her mother was already up, preparing breakfast in the tiny kitchen, the smell of tea and toast filling the small apartment. Life had been hard since her father passed away, and every day was a struggle. But she had learned to face it with a quiet strength. She got ready quickly, pulling on her worn-out clothes and tying her hair back. She grabbed the small bag her mother had packed, a few sandwiches, and a bottle of water tucked inside. She walked out of the apartment and into the streets, where the city was already awake. People hurried to work, children ran to school, and cars honked in a chaotic rhythm that somehow felt familiar. She moved through it all, invisible to most, but carrying a world of worries in her heart. School was never easy. She was one of the few students who came from a modest background, and that made her a target for the popular and wealthy students. Among them, one girl stood out, the queen of arrogance. She had everything money could buy: clothes, gadgets, beauty, and a sense of power that made her feel untouchable. She'd love to make fun of those she considered beneath her, and she had made it her personal mission to humiliate the girl. That morning, as soon as she entered the schoolyard, the usual whispers and snickers followed her. She kept her head down and walked quickly, hoping to avoid trouble. But it was impossible. The wealthy girl spotted her immediately and walked up with her friends, a smirk playing on her lips. "Oh, look who's here," she said loudly, making sure everyone could hear. "Didn't your mom forget to buy you proper clothes again? Or is that outfit supposed to be a fashion statement?" She laughed, and her friends joined in, pointing at her worn-out shoes and faded uniform. The girl felt a hot blush rise to her cheeks, but she held back tears. She had learned that crying in front of them only made things worse. She whispered a soft, almost inaudible response, hoping they would leave her alone, but it only seemed to amuse the wealthy girl more. "Are you going to answer me, or are you too poor to speak properly?" the girl mocked, circling her as if she were an exhibit in a museum. Other students started to watch, some uncomfortable, some curious, and a few quietly cheering the wealthy girl on. The atmosphere felt heavy, suffocating, and humiliating. The girl gritted her teeth and tried to move past them, keeping her eyes on the ground. But before she could escape, the wealthy girl blocked her path. "Don't rush away. We haven't finished having fun yet," she said, her voice dripping with arrogance. Something inside her snapped, not with anger but with a quiet determination. She didn't want to cry here, not in front of everyone. She took a deep breath, lifted her chin, and said softly, "I don't need your approval. I know who I am." The wealthy girl froze for a moment, surprised that her victim dared to speak. Then she laughed even louder. "You don't know anything, little girl. You're nothing compared to me." She flicked her hair and turned away, leaving the girl standing there, heart pounding, cheeks burning, but a small spark of pride igniting inside. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Classes were hard to focus on because the morning incident kept replaying in her mind. Every time she tried to think of her lessons, she felt the sting of humiliation again. Lunchtime was worse. The wealthy girl and her friends took every opportunity to show off, flaunt their expensive lunches, and whisper cruel jokes. It seemed as if the entire school conspired to make her feel small. Still, she tried to stay calm. She found a quiet corner in the cafeteria, away from the laughter and judgment, and ate her simple meal. As she chewed, she thought about her mother, who worked tirelessly to support them. She thought about the dreams she had, the little goals she set for herself: to study hard, to finish school, to make a life better than the one she had. The wealthy girl's mockery was painful, but it could not steal her hope. After school, the girl walked home slowly. The streets seemed emptier now, shadows stretching long under the late afternoon sun. She passed by stores with fancy displays, their windows reflecting a world she could only imagine living in. She stopped for a moment, looking at herself in the glass, trying to see strength instead of weakness. She whispered, "One day, things will be different. I will not be like her. I will be better." Her mother was waiting when she returned. She could see the sadness in her daughter's eyes, but she also saw a quiet resilience. Without asking, she wrapped her arms around the girl and held her close. No words were needed. The embrace said everything. You are not alone. And you are stronger than you think. That evening, as the girl did her homework by the dim light of a small lamp, she thought about the wealthy girl and the cruel world at school. She wondered why people felt the need to put others down to feel powerful. She wondered if anyone ever truly understood her. And then she thought about the grandfather she had never met, a man who had built a fortune and a life far beyond her imagination. She didn't know him, but a part of her hoped that he might see her one day, understand her, and maybe even change the way people treated her. Night fell, and the city quieted down. The girl lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking of her dreams and her struggles. She felt small, yes, but she also felt a flicker of determination that refused to be extinguished. Tomorrow would be another day, another test of her patience and courage. She didn't know what it would bring, but she knew one thing. She would not let anyone define her, and she would not let her spirit break. As she closed her eyes, she imagined a world where kindness and courage mattered more than wealth and arrogance. She imagined standing tall, proud of who she was, unshaken by the cruelty of others. And with that thought, she drifted into sleep, ready to face another day, another challenge, and maybe, just maybe, a step closer to the life she had always dreamed of. The next morning, she woke up with the memory of yesterday's humiliation still fresh in her mind. Even as the sunlight streamed through the cracks of her small window, the warmth did little to chase away the anxiety she felt about returning to school. She had hoped for a calm day, but deep down, she knew that the wealthy girl would not let yesterday pass without a response. She dressed quickly in her modest uniform, trying to ignore the worn patches on her blouse and the scuffed shoes on her feet. Her mother had packed her lunch with extra care, placing a note inside that simply said, "Stay strong, my daughter. You are worth more than they will ever understand." She held the note for a moment, letting the words sink in, and felt a small wave of courage wash over her as she walked to school. She rehearsed in her mind how she would react if the wealthy girl tried to humiliate her again. She wanted to remain calm and composed, to not give the girl the satisfaction of seeing her cry. But she also felt the tension building inside, a mix of fear and determination that made her heart race. The moment she stepped onto the school grounds, she saw the wealthy girl and her friends waiting near the entrance, just as she had feared. The wealthy girl's eyes locked onto hers immediately, and a smug smile spread across her face. She waved casually, as if inviting the girl to a private battle in front of everyone. The wealthy girl loved attention, and today she seemed determined to make it a spectacle. "Good morning, little one," the wealthy girl called out loudly, her voice carrying across the yard. "Did you have a nice breakfast? Or was it too simple for you to enjoy?" Her friends giggled, pointing at the girl's simple lunch bag and the worn-out shoes she tried to hide. The girl felt a knot tighten in her stomach, but she took a deep breath and kept her eyes on the ground. She whispered softly, more to herself than to anyone else, "I am not what they say I am. I am stronger than this." She tried to walk past, but the wealthy girl stepped in front of her, blocking the path with an exaggerated gesture. "Don't be in such a hurry," the wealthy girl said, circling her slowly. "We were just about to have some fun. Maybe everyone will enjoy seeing how the poor girl survives in a world of riches." Her friends laughed, and the crowd of students started to gather. Sensing the drama about to unfold, the girl felt a rush of panic, but also a strange sense of determination. She remembered her mother's words and the quiet strength she had found in the small victories of her life. She stood her ground, meeting the wealthy girl's gaze without flinching, and said, "You can try to humiliate me all you want, but it will not change who I am." Her voice was quiet but firm. Surprising even herself, the wealthy girl raised an eyebrow, clearly amused and slightly offended by the girl's courage. "Oh, really? We'll see about that," she said, her tone dripping with arrogance. She signaled to her friends, and they began to pull out props for what seemed like a planned spectacle game. A public challenge, something designed to embarrass her further. The girl felt a wave of anxiety, but she refused to step back. She remembered all the times she had faced hardship, empty stomachs. Teasing classmates, long nights helping her mother, Anne realized that this, too, was just another challenge. She would not let fear control her. As the wealthy girl's plan unfolded, it became clear that she had rehearsed this many times. She had arranged a small stage in the schoolyard with her friends cheering and the crowd of students watching eagerly. It was designed to make the girl feel small, to make her stumble and fall in front of everyone. The wealthy girl's eyes sparkled with anticipation. Believing that victory and laughter were guaranteed, the girl stepped forward, her heart pounding, but her mind clear. She focused on breathing, on keeping her posture straight, on showing the world that she was not afraid. Every laugh, every sneer from the wealthy girl was a test of her resilience, and she met it with quiet determination. But then, something unexpected happened. From the back of the crowd, a tall, distinguished man appeared. His presence was commanding, yet calm, and immediately drew attention. The chatter of the crowd quieted as they turned to look at him. There was an air of authority about him, a sense of quiet power that made the wealthy girl falter slightly. The man walked steadily towards the girl, his eyes warm and filled with recognition. He knelt slightly to meet her at eye level, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. The girl felt a mixture of surprise and relief. She had not expected anyone to intervene, and certainly not someone with such a presence. "It's okay," he said softly, almost whispering. "You don't have to prove anything to them." The girl looked up at him, realizing that this was not just a stranger. There was a familiarity in his gaze, a sense of care that touched her deeply. He had seen her strength long before anyone else. The wealthy girl, seeing the man's arrival, stiffened. She had expected laughter and triumph, not this sudden interference. "Who is he?" she whispered to her friends, clearly confused and unsettled. The man stood tall now, his voice calm but firm. "Enough of this," he said, addressing the wealthy girl directly. "Humility and respect are more important than wealth. Arrogance has no place here." His words carried weight, not just because of who he was, but because they were true. The girl felt a surge of hope. She realized that she was no longer alone in this struggle. Someone powerful, someone wise, someone who valued character over money, had stepped in to protect her and, in a way, teach the wealthy girl a lesson. The wealthy girl looked around, her friends silent now, and realized that the spectacle she had planned had completely fallen apart. The crowd no longer laughed at the girl. Instead, they watched in quiet awe at the authority of the man who had just spoken. Her confidence wavered, and for the first time, she felt the sting of humility. The man turned back to the girl and smiled gently. "You have courage, and you have a kind heart. Those are qualities no one can take away. Remember that." He patted her shoulder and then stepped back, letting her stand tall in front of the crowd. The girl felt a strange mix of emotions: relief, gratitude, and a new sense of confidence. She had faced humiliation, endured cruelty, and yet here she was, still standing, still strong. The wealthy girl, on the other hand, looked smaller. Her arrogance deflated as she realized that money and status could not define the true worth of a person. After the incident, the girl returned to her classes feeling lighter, though still processing everything that had happened. Her classmates looked at her differently now, some with respect, others with curiosity. She walked with a new sense of dignity, knowing that she had survived not just a public humiliation, but also a test of her inner strength. That evening, she shared the day's events with her mother, who listened with wide eyes and a proud smile. "See, you are stronger than you think. People may try to bring you down, but your heart and courage are what define you," Mother said softly. The girl went to bed that night with a calm mind. She thought about the wealthy girl and her arrogance, but she no longer felt fear or anger. Instead, she felt a quiet understanding that some people needed lessons. And sometimes those lessons came in unexpected ways. She drifted to sleep, imagining a future where she could stand tall, face challenges, and never let anyone else's arrogance dim her light. She knew that more trials were coming, more tests of patience and courage, but she also knew that she had the strength to face them. The day had taught her that even in a world full of cruelty, kindness, courage, and the support of those who truly cared could change everything. The morning sun shone brightly, casting long shadows across the quiet streets. She woke up with a mixture of anticipation and worry. Yesterday had changed everything in a way she had never expected. The presence of the man who had come to her aid had left her mind buzzing. She couldn't stop thinking about who he was and why he had intervened. But a small part of her felt a comforting warmth knowing she was not alone. She got dressed carefully, smoothing her uniform, and checked her bag to make sure everything was in order. Today would be another day at school, another test of her courage. As she walked through the streets, the familiar city noises seemed muted in her mind. Her thoughts kept returning to the wealthy girl and the way she had tried to humiliate her before. She knew it wouldn't be the last time. The wealthy girl's arrogance was relentless, and she thrived on making others feel small. But today, the girl told herself, would be different. She had the memory of yesterday, the quiet strength she had felt when the man had stood beside her, and that was enough to bolster her courage. Upon entering the schoolyard, she saw the usual crowd gathered near the entrance. The wealthy girl was there, her friends flanking her like soldiers ready for battle. She had that same smug smile, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, as if yesterday had shaken her confidence slightly. The girl noticed it and felt a small surge of satisfaction, though she kept her expression neutral. She didn't want to show that she was paying attention to her tormentor. The wealthy girl called out, her voice loud and sharp, "Look who's here. Ready for another round, little girl?" Her friends laughed, and a few students turned their heads to watch, sensing another scene was about to unfold. The girl felt the familiar tightening in her chest, but she took a deep breath and walked steadily, meeting the gaze of the wealthy girl without flinching. "I don't need to prove anything to you," she said quietly, her voice firm yet calm. The wealthy girl tilted her head, clearly surprised that her usual taunts no longer had the effect they once did. She laughed lightly, a little forced this time. "We'll see about that," she said, stepping closer, clearly intending to create another spectacle. The wealthy girl had prepared this encounter carefully. She had a plan to embarrass the girl in front of the entire school during the morning assembly. It was designed to showcase her power, wealth, and influence. The girl knew it was coming, but she also knew that this time she had to face it head-on. She couldn't run or hide. She had to stand her ground, no matter how difficult it would be. The assembly began. With students and teachers filling the hall, the wealthy girl had chosen a moment when the principal was briefly distracted to execute her plan. She brought forward props, notes, and a small display meant to make the girl look foolish in front of everyone. Her friends whispered excitedly, clearly thrilled by what was about to happen. The girl felt the familiar anxiety rising in her chest, but she forced herself to focus. She remembered her mother's encouragement, the quiet strength she had found in herself, and the man who had come to her aid yesterday. She straightened her back, lifted her chin, and walked to the center of the hall, facing the wealthy girl with a calm expression. The wealthy girl began her performance, speaking loudly and dramatically, mocking the girl's background, her clothes, and her manners. The audience shifted uncomfortably, some students laughing, some unsure of what to do. The girl felt the familiar sting of humiliation, but she didn't let it show. She kept her eyes steady, her breathing even, refusing to give the wealthy girl the satisfaction of a reaction. Suddenly, the doors of the hall opened, and the tall, distinguished man stepped in. The room seemed to change immediately. Conversations hushed, and all eyes turned toward him. There was a quiet authority in his presence that demanded respect. He walked calmly to the center of the hall, stopping just behind the girl, and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. The girl felt a wave of relief wash over her, her heart beating less rapidly as she realized she wasn't alone. The wealthy girl froze, her mouth opening slightly in surprise. She had expected no interference this time, only laughter and triumph. But the man's calm, commanding presence disrupted everything. He looked directly at the wealthy girl and spoke in a voice that was both gentle and firm. "Arrogance has no place here. Respect and humility matter more than wealth and status." The wealthy girl's friends looked at each other, unsure of how to react. The wealthy girl herself felt a sudden sense of fear she had never experienced before. She had always believed her wealth and popularity could protect her. But this man's words, delivered with quiet authority, left her momentarily speechless. The man then turned his attention to the girl, smiling warmly. "You have courage, and your heart is kind. That is more valuable than anything else. Never forget it." He gave her shoulder a gentle squeeze, silent reassurance that she was not alone, and that her value could not be defined by the cruelty of others. The wealthy girl, realizing that her plan had failed completely, felt a mix of anger and humiliation. She had intended to showcase power, but instead, she was left standing in a hall where the real respect had shifted to the girl she had tried to belittle. For the first time, she felt small. Her arrogance stripped away by a simple truth. Character mattered more than money. The audience, witnessing the confrontation, began to understand the lesson. The students who had once laughed at the girl now looked at her with newfound respect. Some whispered to each other, others simply watched quietly, absorbing the moment. The wealthy girl's friends no longer knew how to act, their confidence shaken by the unexpected turn of events. After the assembly, the girl walked out with a sense of quiet pride. She had faced a public humiliation, endured cruelty, and yet stood tall. Her classmates glanced at her with respect, and she felt a small smile forming on her lips. She realized that true strength was not in avoiding challenges, but in facing them with courage and dignity. The man, who she now understood was her grandfather, walked beside her, not holding her hand, but offering silent support through his presence. She felt a deep connection, a sense of belonging she had never known. He had intervened not just to protect her, but to teach a lesson to those who thought wealth could define superiority. That evening, as she shared the day's events with her mother, tears of pride filled both their eyes. Her mother hugged her tightly, whispering, "See, you are stronger than anyone could ever understand. Your heart, your courage, your kindness, they are what make you valuable." The girl nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment she had never experienced before. As she lay in bed that night, she reflected on everything that had happened. She thought about the wealthy girl, the arrogance she had displayed, and the lesson she had learned in humility. She thought about herself, the strength she had discovered, and the support of her grandfather. She knew that challenges would continue to come, that life would not always be easy. But she also knew that she could face them with courage and dignity. She drifted to sleep, imagining a future where kindness, courage, and integrity were more powerful than wealth and arrogance. She knew that her journey was just beginning, but she felt ready. Ready to face the world, ready to stand tall, and ready to continue growing into the person she was meant to be. The days following the assembly felt different for her. She noticed the way people looked at her, now some with respect, some with curiosity, and some with a hint of envy. It was a strange feeling, realizing that the moment that had once brought her fear and humiliation now brought acknowledgement. Yet she didn't let it make her arrogant or careless. She understood that respect earned through character was far more valuable than attention earned through cruelty. Her grandfather became a quiet presence in her life. He didn't smother her with attention or try to control her every move, but he offered guidance when she needed it. He taught her that true strength came from patience, humility, and kindness. He spoke of life not in terms of wealth or status, but in terms of values, courage, and integrity. Every lesson felt personal, as if he understood her struggles more deeply than anyone else ever could. Meanwhile, the wealthy girl, who had once ruled the schoolyard with her arrogance, was forced to face the consequences of her actions. She had learned that power based on wealth alone was fragile. Her friends, who had laughed with her before, now seemed distant, unsure of how to act around someone who had been humbled. She realized that respect could not be bought, and that people noticed more than just appearances. The wealthy girl tried to regain her usual confidence, but every time she saw the girl walking with her head held high, it reminded her of the lesson she had learned the hard way. There was a quiet dignity in the girl's actions, a strength that could not be shaken by wealth or social status. The wealthy girl felt a mixture of admiration and regret, understanding that she had underestimated, someone she had tried to belittle. The girl herself felt a growing sense of self-worth. She began to speak up more in class, sharing her ideas and opinions with a quiet confidence. She helped other students when they struggled, showing kindness without expecting anything in return. Slowly, she became a role model in her own right, someone others could look up to not because of wealth or popularity, but because of the strength of her character. Her friends noticed the change too. Those who had been hesitant to approach her before now felt comfortable seeking her advice or simply talking to her. She had become someone who could inspire others through her actions and her resilience. The girl felt proud, but she remained humble, understanding that true growth came from continued effort and compassion. Her grandfather watched these changes with quiet pride. He never needed to boast about his wealth or influence. His satisfaction came from seeing her develop into a strong, kind, and courageous young woman. He encouraged her to pursue her passions, to learn, and to continue standing up for what was right. Even in the face of adversity, the wealthy girl, meanwhile, faced her own challenges. She struggled to navigate her social world without relying solely on wealth and status. Slowly, she began to understand the importance of humility and empathy. She realized that kindness and respect mattered far more than luxury and appearances. It was a slow process, but the events at the assembly had planted seeds of change in her heart. At home, the girl and her mother shared quiet evenings filled with conversation and warmth. Her mother noticed the newfound confidence in her daughter and encouraged her to dream bigger. They talked about school, future aspirations, and the importance of staying true to oneself. These conversations strengthened their bond and provided a safe space for the girl to express herself fully. She also began to see the world differently. The cruelty of others no longer defined her. Instead, she focused on learning, growing, and helping those around her. She understood that life would always have challenges, but she had the tools to face them with courage and dignity. The lessons from her grandfather, her own resilience, and the support of her mother combined to create a foundation that could not easily be shaken. Her experiences with the wealthy girl and the events of the assembly became a turning point. They taught her that strength was not about physical power or social influence, but about inner resolve and moral courage. She learned that people might try to bring you down, but how you respond defines your character. This realization gave her a sense of freedom, allowing her to move forward without fear or hesitation as she continued through school. She encountered other challenges, small and large. Some students tried to test her patience, while others faced personal struggles that she could help with. She approached each situation with the lessons she had learned, offering support and understanding whenever possible. Her actions inspired others, creating a ripple effect of kindness and integrity within her community. The wealthy girl, watching from a distance, sometimes reflected on her behavior and its consequences. She began to make small changes, learning to treat others with more respect and to value character over wealth. The transformation was gradual, but the events of the assembly and the presence of the grandfather had left a lasting impression. The girl herself did not seek revenge or recognition. She focused on her growth and the growth of those around her. She found joy in simple accomplishments, in helping others, and in knowing that she was living with honesty and integrity. The world no longer seemed so cruel, and the challenges that remained felt surmountable because she had learned the power of resilience and courage, even in moments of doubt or fear. She remembered the day her grandfather intervened, the calm authority in his presence, and the lesson that humility and kindness matter more than anything else. These memories became her guiding light, reminding her that she was capable of facing any obstacle and emerging stronger on the other side. By the end of the school year, the girl had grown significantly. She had faced humiliation, cruelty, and the challenges of adolescence. But she had also discovered inner strength, courage, and the value of integrity. Her relationships with her peers improved, her confidence blossomed, and her bond with her mother and grandfather deepened. She had learned a profound truth. True strength comes from kindness, resilience, and standing up for oneself with dignity. Wealth and arrogance may capture attention temporarily, but character and courage create lasting respect. This understanding shaped her actions, decisions, and outlook on life. setting the stage for a future filled with hope, growth, and purpose. As she lay in bed each night, she reflected on her journey. She felt gratitude for the challenges she had faced, for the lessons she had learned, and for the support of those who truly cared about her. She knew that life would continue to test her, but she was no longer afraid. She had the courage, the wisdom, and the heart to face whatever came next. And with that thought, she drifted into a peaceful sleep, ready to embrace the promise of tomorrow with confidence and grace. The new school year began with a fresh sense of purpose for the girl. She had faced challenges, humiliation, and fear, but those experiences had strengthened her in ways she'd never imagined. Walking through the school gates, she held her head high, not out of pride, but out of quiet confidence. She had learned that her worth was not determined by wealth, popularity, or the opinions of others. Her grandfather remained a guiding presence, offering advice when needed, but never forcing his opinions. He encouraged her to pursue her dreams, explore new opportunities, and continue growing as a person. His quiet support gave her a sense of security she had never known before, and she felt fortunate to have someone who believed in her without conditions. The wealthy girl, who had once tried to humiliate her, now approached life differently. She had learned the hard way that arrogance and cruelty could not earn true respect. Slowly, she began to change her behavior, though it was not always easy. She struggled to navigate friendships without relying on wealth and social standing, but the lessons from the previous year stayed with her. Sometimes she would glance at the girl with a mixture of admiration and regret, acknowledging the strength and integrity she had once tried to undermine. The girl herself had grown into a role model for many students. Her kindness, courage, and resilience inspired others. She helped classmates with their studies, offered support to those facing difficulties, and remained a voice of reason and empathy. People who had once doubted her now looked up to her, not because she demanded respect, but because she had earned it through her actions. Her mother noticed the change too. Quiet evenings at home became filled with meaningful conversations. They talked about school, future goals, and the importance of staying true to oneself. Her mother reminded her that life would always have challenges, but with courage and integrity, she could face anything. These conversations strengthened their bond, creating a home filled with love, support, and understanding. The girl also began to dream bigger. She imagined a future where she could use her experiences to help others, to teach kindness, empathy, and resilience. She wanted to create a world where no one felt small or powerless because of someone else's arrogance. These dreams fueled her determination, giving her direction and hope. In school, she faced new challenges, some small, some significant. But with each one, she remembered the lessons she had learned. She approached difficulties calmly, focusing on solutions rather than fear or anger. She discovered that people responded to kindness and understanding, and that true leadership came from empathy and integrity, not wealth or authority. Her grandfather continued to be a silent mentor. He did not intervene unnecessarily, but his presence reminded her that someone powerful and wise supported her journey. He shared stories from his own life, experiences of struggles and triumphs, and the importance of staying grounded despite success. These stories became a source of wisdom, guiding her through decisions and challenges. The wealthy girl, observing from a distance, gradually started to integrate into school life differently. She learned to engage with peers respectfully, to value collaboration over competition, and to appreciate qualities beyond wealth and beauty. Though it took time, she began to understand that true friendship and respect could not be bought. They had to be earned through actions and sincerity. The girl, while compassionate, never forgot the lessons she had learned. She continued to stand up for herself and others, ensuring that cruelty and arrogance did not go unchecked. She balanced strength with kindness, authority with empathy, and ambition with integrity. Her actions inspired others, creating an environment where respect and understanding were valued more than status or possessions at home. Evenings became moments of reflection and planning. She and her mother discussed personal growth, school experiences, and aspirations. Her grandfather occasionally joined, offering guidance and encouragement. Together, they nurtured a sense of resilience, self-respect, and ambition in the girl. This support system became a foundation upon which she built her confidence and courage. The girl also learned to navigate relationships carefully. She formed friendships based on trust, respect, and shared values. She avoided superficial connections and focused on people who encouraged growth and kindness. Through these experiences, she developed social awareness and emotional intelligence, understanding the importance of genuine connections. Her success at school, though not based on wealth, brought recognition. Teachers appreciated her dedication and compassion. Students respected her for her courage and fairness. Even the wealthy girl, though changed, acknowledged her integrity and the quiet strength she had displayed throughout the trials. The transformation of relationships within the school highlighted a shift in values, emphasizing respect and character over arrogance and status. Throughout all these experiences, the girl remained humble. She understood that every challenge was a lesson and that personal growth was an ongoing journey. She celebrated her achievements quietly, focusing more on learning and improving than on accolades or recognition. This mindset allowed her to stay grounded, appreciative, motivated. The influence of her grandfather became even more evident over time. He provided insights on handling success responsibly, dealing with setbacks gracefully, and maintaining balance in life. His mentorship taught her that true strength was not only in facing external challenges, but also in managing internal growth, self-discipline, and moral integrity. As the years passed, the girl continued to flourish. She excelled academically, developed strong relationships, and contributed positively to her community. Her experiences with cruelty and arrogance shaped her into a compassionate leader, someone who could inspire change without seeking personal gain. Her journey became a testament to resilience, courage, and the transformative power of kindness. Even the wealthy girl, now aware of her past mistakes, began contributing positively to her surroundings. She learned the value of humility, empathy, and genuine effort. Though their paths differed, the wealthy girl's transformation mirrored the impact of lessons learned from facing consequences and observing true strength at home. Life remained full of warmth and support. Her mother continued to nurture her, providing encouragement and guidance. Her grandfather's presence, whether through direct mentorship or quiet influence, remained a pillar of strength. Together, they formed a family foundation built on love, respect, and shared values. The girl's outlook on life became clear and purposeful. She understood that challenges would continue, but she possessed the tools to navigate them with courage, wisdom, and empathy. She focused on personal growth, meaningful connections, and making a positive impact on those around her. By the time she completed her schooling, the girl had become a symbol of resilience, integrity, and compassion. Her journey from a timid, struggling student to a confident, respected young woman demonstrated that true value comes from character, courage, and kindness. Wealth and status could not define her, and arrogance could not break her spirit. As she prepared for the next chapter of her life, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment and hope. She had faced adversity, learned important lessons, and grown stronger with every challenge. She knew that life's journey was ongoing, but she felt ready to embrace the future with confidence, wisdom, and a heart full of compassion. She reflected on her grandfather's influence, the support of her mother, and the experiences that had shaped her. She understood that life's true rewards came not from wealth or recognition, but from personal growth, meaningful connections, and the positive impact one could have on others. With this understanding, she stepped forward into the world, ready to face whatever challenges awaited, confident in her strength, guided by her values, and inspired to continue her journey with courage, kindness, and integrity. Years had passed since the events that had shaped her early school days. She had grown into a young adult, filled with confidence and a sense of purpose that had been nurtured through challenges. Guidance from her grandfather and the unwavering support of her mother. Life had not always been easy, but she had learned to face difficulties with grace and determination. Every experience, both good and bad, had contributed to the strength she carried within herself. She had moved to a new city to attend university. eager to pursue her studies and carve out a future on her own terms. The streets of this new city were busier, filled with people chasing their own dreams, and the buildings towered high, reflecting a world of possibilities. She walked among them with quiet confidence, aware that the values instilled in her over the years were the foundation of her success and resilience. University. Life brought both excitement and challenges. She met new people, some kind and supportive, others competitive or indifferent. She joined study groups and extracurricular activities, immersing herself in learning and growth. Yet she quickly realized that even in this new environment, the world still had its share of arrogance, jealousy, and judgment. Some students attempted to belittle others for their background or appearance, much like the wealthy girl had done in her school years. One day, while she was attending a lecture, she noticed a student being mocked for their modest attire and quiet demeanor. Memories of her past surged within her, the days when she had been the target of ridicule, the humiliation she had endured, and the lessons she had learned. She felt a strong urge to step in, not out of anger, but out of empathy and a desire to support someone who reminded her of herself. After the lecture, she approached the student quietly. "Hey, don't let them get to you," she said softly. "Your worth isn't determined by what anyone else thinks. Stay true to yourself, and everything else will fall into place." The student looked at her, surprised and grateful. It was a small act, but it carried the weight of her experiences and the wisdom she had gained. She realized that her journey had prepared her to guide others through challenges with compassion and confidence. The semester continued, and she found herself increasingly involved in helping students navigate their own difficulties. She volunteered for mentorship programs, offering guidance to younger students who were struggling academically or socially. She shared her story with them, not for recognition, but to show that perseverance and integrity could overcome obstacles, no matter how insurmountable they seemed. Her grandfather had visited her once during the semester, and they had spent hours walking through the university campus together. He shared stories of his own early struggles, times when he had faced setbacks and had to rely on patience, diligence, and resilience to succeed. He emphasized that life was a series of challenges, each one designed to teach something valuable, and that true fulfillment came from personal growth and helping others along the way. One afternoon, she encountered a particularly difficult situation. A group of students had started a rumor that threatened to damage another student's reputation. She knew how painful it was to be the target of such cruelty, and she decided to intervene. With a calm and composed voice, she addressed the group, explaining the harm their actions could cause and the importance of empathy and respect. Her words were not confrontational, but firm, and they caused the group to pause and reconsider their behavior. The student who had been targeted looked at her with relief and gratitude, and she felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. Through these experiences, she realized that leadership was not about power or authority, but about influence, guidance, and compassion. She understood that real strength lay in helping others find their own voices, standing up for what was right and maintaining integrity even when faced with adversity. Her grandfather's lessons and her own past had equipped her with the ability to navigate complex social dynamics and inspire positive change. Academically, she excelled. Her professors recognized her diligence, critical thinking, and commitment to learning. She took on challenging projects and internships, seeking opportunities that allowed her to grow and contribute meaningfully. Despite her achievements, she remained humble, aware that success was not solely measured by grades or accolades, but by the impact one could have on others and the personal growth achieved along the way. Her friendships deepened as well. She formed connections with people who shared her values, who were supportive, and who encouraged her to continue pursuing her goals. These relationships were built on trust, respect, and mutual growth. She learned to balance her time, prioritize meaningful interactions, and offer support without losing focus on her own development. The lessons of resilience and empathy continued to guide her actions and decisions. One evening, she received a call from her grandfather. He wanted to discuss an opportunity he believed could make a difference in her life and the lives of others. She listened attentively as he explained the possibility of starting a community initiative aimed at providing mentorship and resources to young people facing challenges similar to those she had once experienced. The idea resonated deeply with her, and she eagerly agreed to be involved, seeing it as a chance to extend the lessons she'll learn and create a lasting impact. Planning the initiative was both exciting and challenging. She coordinated with her grandfather, faculty members, and volunteers, learning to manage projects, communicate effectively, and overcome obstacles. Each step reinforced her skills and confidence, and she discovered that her experiences, once sources of pain, had become tools for helping others. She felt a profound sense of purpose, realizing that her journey had prepared her to make a meaningful difference in the world. The launch of the program was a moment of triumph. Young people from various backgrounds came to participate, eager for guidance, mentorship, and encouragement. She shared her story with them, emphasizing resilience, self-worth, and the importance of kindness. The participants listened attentively, inspired by her honesty and the wisdom she conveyed. She felt a deep satisfaction, knowing that the lessons she had learned were now helping others navigate their own paths. Through this work, she also gained a new perspective on her own life. She recognized that challenges would continue to arise, both in personal and professional spheres. Yet, she felt equipped to face them with courage, empathy, and integrity. The experiences that had once caused fear and pain had become sources of strength and guidance, allowing her to move forward with confidence and purpose. The wealthy girl from her past occasionally appeared in her thoughts. She wondered how her former antagonist had fared over the years and hoped that the lessons of humility and empathy had truly taken root. While their paths had diverged, the girl understood that life had a way of teaching each person in their own time, and that growth and change were possible for anyone willing to reflect and learn. As she continued her studies and community work, she remained grounded in the values that had guided her throughout her life: courage, integrity, kindness, and resilience. She approached challenges with thoughtfulness, faced obstacles with determination, and embraced opportunities to help others with compassion. Each day reinforced the understanding that life's true rewards were not in wealth, recognition, or status, but in personal growth, meaningful connections, and the positive impact one could create in the world. Her grandfather's guidance remained a steady influence, reminding her that success and fulfillment were measured by character and contribution rather than material gain. Her mother's love and support continued to nurture her, providing a safe foundation from which she could explore, grow, and thrive. Together, these influences shaped a young woman who was confident, compassionate, capable of navigating the complexities of life with wisdom and grace. By the end of her first year in the new city, she had not only adapted, but thrived. Her academic achievements, community involvement, and personal growth reflected the culmination of years of learning, struggle, and resilience. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the challenges she had faced, the people who had guided her, and the opportunities to make a difference in the lives of others. Looking ahead, she envisioned a future where she could continue to grow, inspire, and help. She knew that life would bring new challenges, new lessons, and new opportunities for impact. But she also knew that she had the strength, wisdom, and compassion to face whatever came her way. Her journey was ongoing, but she approached it with confidence, hope, and a commitment to living with integrity, courage, and kindness. As she lay in bed each night, reflecting on her day, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She understood that her past, with all its struggles and lessons, had prepared her for this moment, a life of purpose, growth, and positive influence. She drifted to sleep with a heart full of gratitude, ready to embrace the future, confident that her journey would continue to be one of resilience, compassion, and meaningful impact on the world around her.